Up for that for awfully long. I know you said you're going to take it down.
Okay. So let me just get the check if it's up. There we go.
Excited for this, my first live podcast.
Just getting the
For that for awfully long.
yeah, it's gonna be up there, so I've got all the parts up.
Cool. Yeah, I'm excited because all the podcasts I've done is like pre-recorded, um, not live. So this is going to be interesting.
Card game general, and everyone can see it. The easiest way to see the comments is if you have the actual video up yourself, just paused so it doesn't make audio.
Okay. I might probably just put it on my phone, right?
Yeah.
Let me just do that.
Oh, someone's already liked the video. I'm gonna guess that's for your games.
Playing Battle Spirits, man. I've been waiting for this debate. I've been waiting for this Buddyfight debate. Not even debate, just discussion. Because I love this game. I love that game.
I know, I'm the outlier here.
Yeah, next time I gotta get Surge up here too, so we can tag team you on Buddy Fight.
Oh,
I used to watch Surge's videos on Buddy Fight way back, like 10 years ago.
I remember. I think I first met Hunter Surge through Pojo boards.
Oh, really?
Going that far back.
I don't think I ever was
Vanguard.
active. Yeah, I'm not old enough for like the Pojo forums. It was already defunct when I became like into card games.
So I guess we better get started now because clearly we have someone here. Hi everyone, some gamer dude here, or as you know, my name now is Eric. This is the second episode of the Extra Deck, and today I have Nate with me. He's a good friend on the Some Gamer Dude Discord. I don't have a link, but you can find it in one of the videos. I'll put it up later on. I've only got a link to my website. So do you want to introduce yourself, Nate?
Yeah, hey everyone. I'm Nate. I'm a card game for life type of guy. I've been playing card games for almost forever. I don't know, since I was 8 years old, I think. You know, and com- you know, some Eric knows that like comic books is like my passion,
Yep.
number one passion in the whole world. But card games are number two. Like I love card games. I want to be a card game developer once I get the comic situation situated. But I love card games, and not just like I'm not a tribalist. Like I don't just like Yu-Gi-Oh or one game. I like card games as a whole, and I like more of the design process and like game development and card design more than even playing card games as a whole.
Yeah, that's actually something that Jeff told me would happen as you steadily get into it. That it becomes more of the appeal of card games, the actual design part of it, rather than playing it so much.
Oh, definitely. Like I think one of my favorite YouTube series right now, and I forgot the name of the channel, but I've been following for a couple years, is like the Naruto TCG retrospective,
Kudokun.
where the guy goes through, yeah, where he goes through like every single set of Naruto and talks about the meta breakdown and how it was the community at the time of the ban list. And I'm like, I never played that game. I was not even playing TCGs when that
I
game
only
was like
played the
so
first
active.
three sets. After the third
Yeah.
set, for some reason, it just got discontinued here. I remember really liking it. I bought quite a bit of the first two sets, but there was a Sasuke card in the second set that here, at least, it doesn't seem to come up in Kudokun's video, but here, the entire meta warped around it, and it just became very samey and boring. And I think that is around the time I gave up card games for a year or two.
Oh, what year was that? Like what year?
Um, well, it'd have to be after Pokemon DP at the no, no, no. I'm just trying to remember because it was so long ago now. We're pre 2010 here. Um, so
Okay.
I must have drifted from Pokemon because I didn't really like the Dominant Pearl meta as much as the Generation 3. Generation 3 was one of my favorite card game eras of all time. Despite being a complete poker boomer and loving my Gen 1, So I know he said G1. I was thinking of Transformers. Well, technically it is. The Generation 3 card game is just... One is super nostalgic. Two is something I'd really like to get around to trying. I've got to get some printouts done. Three is just where it hit every single mark.
Okay. Yeah, heard you talk about that in a lot of your videos about Gen 3 Pokemon TCG, but
Yeah.
unlike, I think the only TCG that really goes over history, like as a community, is like Yu-Gi-Oh. It's so hard to find stuff on like old metagames for like old TCGs.
For Pokemon is Jason Klaczynski's board. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. Sorry, not board, blog. I know words. I'm not dumb. Yeah, he has this entire blog series going over all of the old metas till he gave up the game with, I think, X and Y. He was a world champion, long timer, and even he says, yeah, Generation 3 was the best era of the game. It's anyone that played it off and on or serious through that era knows that, yeah, it's that game's peak.
Okay, yeah, I have to check it out.
Which is actually really weird when you think about it, because the video game side of Pokemon, I don't know how Generation 3 is remembered now, but it's kind of the lull of the franchise because Pokemania died.
When Pokemon went into maintenance mode, Gen 3. Like, okay, we're gonna stay around for forever at this point.
Yeah.
But we're not the biggest thing ever anymore.
Foyo's here. Hey, mate, I'll see you later. Because after this one, I'm having a little break. And then later on this afternoon, my time, Foyo and I are playing some Hyperdukin. Are we streaming it, or are you just recording it? He'll tell me in the comments in a few minutes. But yeah, that's what we're doing afterwards.
That sounds great.
Yeah,
but,
so I've got a packed day.
Yeah, but continue on TCGs. That's how I found your channel. I think it was like a TCG review you did, and I just subscribed after that because it's so rare to find general TCG content on YouTube.
Okay, I think that actually segues into a topic you wanted to bring up because I've thought about this a lot. And I think I brought this up with Jeff last time. The monotonous, continuous drilling of duel masters for ideas. That so many games are duel masters clones now.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how much Duel Masters has influenced just games as a whole, and that it's like it's a gap now because my generation of players, like I Duel Master was long dead.
Yeah,
like for almost a decade before I started playing TCGs physically.
Did you play Kaijudo?
No, I did not play Kaijudo.
No one did.
Yeah, no one did. I watched the show though; it was on the Hub, but that show, like, I didn't know till later on that Kaijudo, the show, was a card game.
Yeah, that's one of the big problems with the show. It's not marketing the merchandise properly.
Yeah, I would have played it because I liked the show a lot. Even though it was kind of corny, but I just didn't know it was a TCG at all. But yeah, it's so weird that like Duel Masters has been dead for so long, but that you could play almost 3 different types, like I don't know, like 5 games that's just Duel Masters.
Well, it's not dead in Japan. It's still going really strong over there.
Oh yeah, it's like the biggest card game there, ain't it?
No, Pokemon is now number 1, eclipsing, at least in terms of sales, eclipsing Yu-Gi-Oh! And Duel Masters. I'm not sure on what the current stats are for Yu-Gi-Oh! Versus Duel Masters, though.
Okay. Yeah, it's super hard to find. I wish I can learn more about Japanese Duel Masters. It's a YouTube channel going over every OCG card game that I've been following, and I've been just waiting for the Duel Master Saga, but it's been almost like 2 years since he dropped the video.
Used to be called Maniac's channel, I think.
Yeah, Maniac channel. He rebranded, dropped the episode, and then he's just been gone for
I know he's
had
internet issues.
Oh, is that the reason? Okay.
Yeah, but to be fair with him, though, there's been now other channels covering the type of content he did for Yu-Gi-Oh! So I'm not even sure it's even worth his time doing Yu-Gi-Oh! Content now.
Yeah, I was kind of bummed, and not to go to his channel, but I was kind of bummed when he kept doing videos on Yu-Gi-Oh because it's even before his channel, like years, like I know Yu-Gi-Oh history pretty well just based on YouTube videos. Like
Mm.
any game that's documented, it's Yu-Gi-Oh. You can learn Yu-Gi-Oh history easily.
Yeah,
Any other TC, I was more interested in like when he covered like the like it was some monster collecting game
yeah, Monster
that was
Collector.
super niche that I never. Yeah,
Yeah,
like that was the
Moncoli.
best episode. I knew nothing about it at all.
I'm gonna have to answer
But
that later.
yeah, going back to like Duel Masters, I wish I could just play regular Duel Masters at this point because it seems like they're just taking the blueprint from like the popular Japanese game and just sticking it on to franchise. Doesn't make any sense.
I've
Like
heard Lorcana is
when I think,
probably the closest.
yeah,
I
I think that's
haven't
the
really
closest.
I haven't really looked into it because I'm not terribly keen on Disney's IP or giving Disney money. Although I've been buying Star Wars figures on clearance lately just to have a small collection of just the characters I really like. So clearly I'm
Okay.
going back on that.
I'm not checking out Lucana because I'm the type of person that I don't really care about the IP at all.
Mm.
I just care about mechanics, and that's why all the games I play competitively die because they're not IP games. But Lorcana just looked too simple for me to enjoy. I rather just play like it just looked too bare bones, like baby's first card game. Even, but I'm surprised because like Lorcana has taken over my local game shop. I'm like veteran players.
It's really weird when I think about it because I'm just remembering Duel Masters has now failed twice in the West.
Yep.
And the aesthetic is clearly it's a halfway step between Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh in a lot of ways, or Vanguard and Magic. Because I think a lot of the artists
Yeah, I can see
today,
that.
a lot of the artists that work on Vanguard, and I think a couple of the other Bushiroad games also worked on Duel Masters. And looking at the cards
Really?
we actually have in front of us, that Infernal King Curse Dragon, you could tell me that was a Duel Masters card, and I'd probably believe you.
Yeah, it makes sense. I know Battle Spirits took a lot from Duel Masters, design wise. I it's so weird too because I understand like Duel Masters is so influential, but at this point I don't even think like I feel like Duel Masters like if Duel Kaiju didn't exist, this is probably the perfect time for Duel Masters to have a renaissance. Honestly,
Yeah, it probably would. And you'd probably market it as you've played all the rip-offs, now play the proper thing.
yeah, exactly because it is a lot of ripoffs. Like it, Dragon Ball Super is literally like Duel Masters with like Vanguard guarding, in my opinion.
Yeah. Dragon Ball Super was a game I really wanted to like because I liked the IP quite a lot. And I think the cards look really nice. And it just didn't take off on my locals. It took off a little bit far away, but this is actually something I don't know if I've ever brought this up on the channel before, but I don't like playing games at night much. I've always been the type that I want to play my games on the weekend during the day when I'm fully alert, not having to survive on coffee or caffeinated
I
drinks.
know that feeling.
And it's like, especially as you get older, and well, things have changed a lot, but as you get older, it really does become a case of can you round up all the mates? No one's got anything on. No one's working. Okay, we can do this.
Yeah, and then half the time when that happens, you don't even end up playing the game. You just hanging out with your buddies, and the game is secondary.
Yeah. Or with
Yeah, the only time I like playing at night is like I'm just testing night of before like a couple days before like a big tournament or anything. Other than that, I like playing the day as well.
yeah. See, I don't know what it's like over your way, but as the years have evolved, it seems like everything's moving to the weekday nights when I forget what YouTuber it was. It's like I have a life, I've got work, I can't do that at night. Everything's moved from the Saturday and Sunday to the weekday nights. Has that happened up there?
Oh, 100%. All the popular games happen on the weekdays.
Yeah.
The niche games get pushed over to share time with Commander on the weekends.
Yep. Commander's on the weekend here too. Uh,
Yep, that's where Battle Spirits happens. That's where Vanguard happens. Shadowverse, Grand Archive. That's on the weekends.
Actually, that's a really
Moneymakers,
strange one here.
Yu-Gi-Oh.
Uh, Shadowverse doesn't really seem to be doing particularly well, or it wasn't released here properly, or I'm not sure what the case is. And it seems to have died down really quick. I don't see anyone really talking about it.
Wait, Shadowverse is like almost dead in my area at all. Like it was kind of crazy that people who don't like normally come to the game shop came in the shop, bought all the product, and never came back.
Yeah, well, a mate that I've got, he's my lead play tester for Hyperduken. By the way, guys, I didn't get to show this before, but if I don't do the Kickstarter, we're only about 7 or 8 copies away from funding set 3 because of the way Nate's helped me handle some funds. Thank you for that, by the way. We won't discuss it any more than that. But yeah, we're really close.
You're welcome.
The set 3, I know you guys have seen what was called the final, but playtesting and I have been working on it a little bit more to make sure not only everything feels good, but every single card that's new has a home out of the gate.
Yeah. This might be a side tangent, but I do want to talk to you because you're the only other person I know who is in this independent space with crowdfunding and everything. Like, what's your opinion on the crowdfunding space for independent work? I have some strong opinions.
I probably wouldn't do it again. Not
I feel the
unless
same.
not unless I was in a position where, how about this? I felt it was completely necessary and had the right marketing approach to do it. I think a lot of why these games are successful on Kickstarter is marketing. It's not the quality of the game. How's MetaZoo in terms of cost up there now? It's dirt cheap here.
Yeah, it's dirt cheap. I can buy a case right now for like $100.
Yeah, I can go buy a box for 37 Australian, which is what about? Oh, no, my price is probably 20 US plus tax.
Yeah, it's pretty cheap. No one plays MetaZoo, and it didn't really hit. That was all switch. That was all like NFC era stuff. Like no one was really trying to play MetaZoo.
No,
It was just a
I
little
gave
store
it a
bought
shot
shit.
in the first set. It is wow. Like it's not Pokemon in the slightest at all. It is clearly a Magic clone. Well, I should say, yeah, Magic clone. Yeah, it's got lands. But it's dragging. It's draining. My mate and I were like, life is too long for this. Life is too short for this, I should say, and just stopped.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because it seems like the perfect like kids game, but ain't no way a kid's gonna play MetaZoo, even find MetaZoo.
No, it's clearly for kidults. And I cringe
Yeah,
saying that word.
yeah, it's pretty people because that big like Pokemon boom during the quarantine,
Yeah.
and then MetaZoo came at the perfect time, right place, right time. NFTs, Pokemon boom, nostalgia boom, MetaZoo, and now all that's gone, and the game's crash.
Yeah, and Pokemon's still doing really, really well.
But yeah, Pokemon is like doing extremely well, and I think Pokemon Company's doing like an excellent job that they're still supporting the collector's market, but they're also knowing like this boom is about to end, so they're also growing the competitive scene in Pokemon.
Oh, yeah.
I think I linked it in the server that they just boosted the prize pool of tournaments that you can make like top 32 and win a grand, and like events are like selling out even faster now in like seconds. I was just in Pittsburgh this weekend for Battle Spirits. It had the same week as Pokemon, and like it was so many Pokemon people at my hotel.
I
It was
remember when
actually
I
crazy.
played Pokemon, you got a trophy.
Yeah. Now you get first place and win. I think it's 10K. First place,
Pokemon's actually the
$10,000.
best I ever did competitively. One of the best players in the country was at the Sydney Cities. He came down from Queensland. He's a good friend. Used to help me get a lot of Vanguard cards because he jumped to Vanguard after Pokemon. But I got third that day, which I think is really good considering I got crushed by him.
Yeah, Pokemon, man. I'm kind of dabbling in Pokemon. Like the most experience I have with Pokemon is actually the GB Color game.
Fantastic game.
um,
Everyone should play it.
yeah, I actually downloaded the mod of it today with Gen 2,
Oh yeah, yeah, I've
Neo's
seen that.
version. Yeah, I'm about to play that. After this podcast. But that's the most experience I have with Pokemon. But it's just so many Pokemon players, man. Just a lot of people who play the CCG.
Yeah, it's actually really weird here because it doesn't fire.
Really?
It sells like mad, but at least in this state, it doesn't fire. And it hasn't for as long as I can remember now. It must be like 2015-ish, back when I was playing Force of Will.
Okay. Yeah, the Pokemon League play, like, those tournaments fire at my locations at multiple, but it's really weird too, because it's not really, the Pokemon community is kind of separated from, like, the rest of TCG players at my store. Like, it's just Pokemon players, and they don't really play anything else.
Yeah,
That's their own little community.
Oh, I'll go sorry. I don't know if I've ever told this on the channel before, but I remember, just we're segueing into tribalism a little bit. Back when I was, must have been about 14, 15-ish. It's a long time ago now. Back when Yu-Gi-Oh! Was still relatively new. Duel Masters was in its death throes, and I think Duel Masters had died. And what was I playing at the time? Pokemon. And I was dabbling in Yu-Gi-Oh! Still. Magic used to be all these older guys in their like 30s and 40s. They clearly grew up with it back in 1993. And there used to be this thing where the Yu-Gi-Oh! Players will tell you, no, you don't want to go play Magic. It's for old people and they won't let you play and they'll be mean.
You know what? I got told exactly the same thing. My generation player, I grew up with Bushiro games. I grew up with like Vanguard and Buddyfight and stuff like that.
Good stuff.
And it was no crossover between me. I had no interest. Everyone told me not to, and I haven't played Magic ever. Just because of what you told me right then. Like the figureheads in my community told me that same thing.
Wow. I didn't realize it was that far spread and lasted that long. I didn't touch Magic till after I gave up. I got sick of Force of Will the first time. Maybe I shouldn't have gotten sick of it the second time. I shouldn't have started it again. I blame you, Glorian. You did this. You know who you are. But I picked up Magic for a little bit there. I actually was pretty good at it, though. Swept my first locals with a cheapo deck, no trouble. And it's like, I don't know what it was. I enjoy Magic from a mental level, but I don't enjoy it from an IP level. And
I feel the same. I don't care at all about the Magic IP at all.
It's like, I think this is especially as I've gotten older. I'd rather play with decks I really, really enjoy from both a mechanical and, well, not so much a visual level. I might go to a deck for visual reasons and then enjoy the mechanics, but I typically go for mechanics and then learn to appreciate the visuals. But I don't know, there was just something about Magic that stopped me from wanting to pursue it more than that. I did it once, I did well, and then I did a bit just with friends, and it's packed in a box now.
It's kind of interesting because I feel like any card game developer who wants to like make card games one day or just want to study TCGs, you have to know about Magic. You have to like learn stuff about Magic because it's like the granddaddy of card games. But I watched tons of videos on Magic, different formats, different cards because it's a lot out there just explaining like how Magic works. But that never translated me actually wanting to play Magic itself. I just care about just learning about TCGs from Magic. But
I love listening to a few certain things from Mark Rosewater's Drive to Work podcast.
Yes.
And that fella that works there, he's a young dude, talks about playtesting cards. I think it's Morning with Magic or something, the channel.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Morning with Magic.
Yeah, I think those two guys are fascinating. I used to watch a lot of Strictly Better MTG and Desolator Magic.
Mm-hmm.
But as I said, I just Magic was something I think in a lot of ways. Actually, it's kind of funny we're talking about Pokemon earlier. I think about it in very much the same way as the Generation 3 games. I wanted to force myself to like it.
Okay.
You get what I mean?
I Yeah, like you're trying to force yourself to like something even though you didn't like it. I had a similar experience actually with Digimon. Like I forced myself. Like I wanted to get into TCGs again. I wanted to play like a TCG, have a community and everything, but I just quit because I just did not like the gameplay at all. Like I was winning like store championships and like winning tournaments. It's just like I did not have fun playing this game.
It's like, I'm good at this, but why am I doing it?
Yeah, it's like especially because it's not even any cash prize or anything. So it's like I'm just doing this. I can do better things with my time than doing this.
Yeah, for you, I think it is Gavin Furhay, the guy that works at Magic, as a Wizards. Furhay knows everything about every channel, I think. Uh, uh,
I think it helps with Magic that like it's not a Japanese card game compared to like most TCGs nowadays. That like we can actually hear from the developers because Japanese companies are pretty secretive. Like we don't really know the design process of like Yu-Gi-Oh sets and like Pokemon sets and Vanguard and all that. But we pretty much know like we can. Developers of Magic have YouTube channels
oh, yeah,
talking about cards, live posts.
and there are resources for other older games that you can find here and there. That's if you go looking for it for the right Western games, you can find what you're looking for.
Yeah, but those Japanese games is impossible
So,
to find anything from the developers.
oh yeah. So what about Digimon? Didn't do it for you? Because I was in very much the same situation. I loved the demo on the phone. I was playing it in Japanese and loving it. I got the starter decks. I played them. I liked them. And then when it came to playing Constructed out online, so I could go by singles, I'm like, yeah, I think I'd be happier with my money.
I think I hopped in during set 6. That's when I started playing a paper. I played a little on tabletop sim during the first couple sets. I was going to wait till like more cards came out. I played a deck called Gabuban, and I don't like the way they really designed Digimon sets because it's like every set, the new deck is the best deck. So I came with no experience, anything. Bought the new best deck, $60, won tournaments, and maybe just a personal preference in like games I like, but I just don't like games without interaction. And Digimon has no interaction. They just introduced interaction with like a new Ace card
Oh
to
yeah,
give interaction between turns, but I just don't like games where it's like I really can't interact with my opponent. It's not really no back and forth. It's just me like playing my OP deck and just winning because I have a stronger deck. There's no really way to outplay.
yeah.
The memory system by that point was like way like irrelevant.
Yeah, I feel that completely. I think that's why I haven't really touched a Pokemon card game since outside of the video game since 2015. I'm only just now wanting to get around to it, and a lot of my feelings as to why I kept saying no, I don't want to touch it is that exact reason: the lack of interaction.
It was so bad in Digimon. I honestly think if everything had a Herod blocker, the game would be a lot better as well. Because there was like times where like you just have so many Digimon on board and you just lose the game straight up. You have no defensive option.
Oh, try Chrono Clash and its Sentinel mechanic. I think that's what it was called. You have to keep the guy tapped, and it magnets everything to it.
Oh yeah, that Digimon needs that.
Oh no 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 no
Needs
no
that.
no! You have to attack to keep it tapped,
We have to attack to keep it tapped.
and then it magnetizes everything to it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's.
That's interesting.
I really liked Chrono Clash a lot more than Digimon, but that was a really big sore spot for me. I loathed that mechanic so much.
Um, yeah, I think another thing about the Digimon TCG that it was on our list of topics that like just doesn't feel like Digimon to me.
Yeah,
Just feels like bare bone,
I'd
good
agree with
enough,
that.
like close enough.
I think in a lot of ways, despite I don't know how many people would like to hear this, but I think in many respects, the old Hyper Coliseum is probably truer to the spirit of the franchise.
Yes, I was just playing. I'm a big fan of the Digimon Battle Arena. I know it's a little different from Hyper Coliseum, but it's kind of like somewhat similar, and that's Digimon to me.
Yeah, yeah.
That feels like a card game
I think it plays a
playing
bit
with
better than
Digimon.
Hyper Coliseum anyway.
But the new Digimon TCG is like, okay, you got the raising area, you got Digi Evolution, which I actually do like the Digi Evolution mechanic that you draw a card every time you Digivolve. I think that's
Yeah.
really nice. But I feel like you could just kind of make this anything if and be the same game if it wasn't Digimon. With Hyper Coliseum, no, that is Digimon.
Well, the fact that Digimon, the current game, is just a reskin and slight alteration of Chrono Clash, a game that was literally reskin each set. Oh, I missed that game, though.
It just kind of just make me kind of sad as someone who's like love researching and like learning about older TCGs of like the boom era where like everything had a TCG where like developers really tried even though the game was pretty bad, like a lot of those games were pretty bad,
Oh, yeah.
really try to make those IPs and feel like you're living those IPs in card form. Now it like I think the best comparison is comparing the One Piece CCG to the new One Piece game, where like that game probably wasn't the best game ever. I never played it, but looking at the
my friend
rules and
played
like
the
watching
original
gameplay,
one
that felt like
competitively.
One Piece. Oh, you said what? Excuse me?
My mate played the original one competitively. You
Okay.
typically won or lost, not through any of the normal victory conditions, but decking out. Because you
Yeah.
the decks were only 32 cards, and you ran through them at blistering speeds.
Yeah, I don't think that game was like. I think the new One Piece game is actually like might be a better game.
It's a better game.
I might confirm that it's a better game, but the original game felt more like One Piece. Just
Yeah.
looking at gameplay, like that felt like a One Piece battle from the manga. The new game, you can kind of like it could be Bleach, My Hero Academia. It could be almost anything. The same rules
Speaking of
and be the same
Bandai
game.
and that, I am really surprised we haven't seen another Naruto crack.
I'm hoping Naruto saves Battle Spirits Saga with a Naruto collab at this point. Um, I think Chrono Clash had a Naruto set, right?
The first two sets and the only expansions.
Okay, yeah. So like Bandai, has the IP, so they can put in Battle Spirits. But I think Bandai is kind of just done. I don't think they can. I think they're cannibalizing their sales right now. All their TCGs.
Because I know that Dragon Ball Super is rebooting soon, which, that's not going to do well. And I probably should have...
It's more like Vanguard type of thing.
Yeah, I know, but Vanguard
Like the era.
hurt both times it rebooted in the West. It's not particularly liked. Despite the fact that
Oh man.
it is actually really good for development. This is actually something I'm working on at the moment that as much as no one likes it and as much as Hunter really puts up his laurels about it, rotation is kind of needed.
Yeah, I think rotation is needed. I don't know. I'm fine with no rotation, honestly. But I think rotation can really help a game. I don't think Bushiroad just handled it in the best way
No.
for Vanguard. It was kind of like because I was really big into well G era Vanguard. I was playing a lot. I was playing a lot of G era Vanguard. I really enjoyed it, and then V era came and kind of split the community
Yeah.
like a lot. Like it kind of killed. Like I was a big premium player because I just didn't like Vieira at all, and I just stopped coming because I just it was just sudden, and then Overdress came, and that's when Vanguard got off the weekly schedule at my local game store, and like nowhere to play Vanguard now in my area, and like I live in a big TCG area.
Yeah, I think I've only ever seen one, maybe two stores carry Vanguard now. There's only one I know that, I think only one I know that plays it still. And it used to be every single store, plentiful everywhere. So many people played it. Used to be massive here.
I think if Overdress came out as the first reboot, the game would be in like a way better spot right now.
I think so too. I think in some regards, uh, are you familiar with G regulation?
Uh, yeah, from the original series, right?
Yeah, the original intent with G was to soft rotate out all of the original sets to have a splinter the format between what was essentially Magic's uh, 1. Standard and unlimited, I think it was at the time. I forget the number codes that they used to use. But G regulation was fought back on so hard that they gave up on it. And I think in
Yeah.
some respects, that might have influenced the design of later sets for G era and how that entire block went. And in some ways, I think maybe it also was handled poorly. I think maybe what Bushiroad probably should have done, oh, pardon me, is block off each mechanical era by its own coding and use that to steadily introduce rotation.
I would actually prefer that because it's kind of like, yeah, we're just gonna like uber power creep. Like stuff's not irrelevant anyways. Like you can't play other blocks.
No,
So it'd be nice to just have like an era that I can just play certain Vanguard.
yeah,
That'd probably be a good way. Just and then locals could do like special nights for like each era or like once a month or something. But they just didn't have the infrastructure. I think honestly, I think Bandai has took over Bushiroad place
oh yeah,
as the person, the company who makes all these games, because Bushiroad is just so poorly managed. It's actually crazy, and it's kind of crazy too because people hated Bandai back in the day.
oh yeah, yep. I remember the case with Naruto. It was very, very obvious at the end. Apparently, it was ending because again, it wasn't here at the time. But this is all the stories I've read on Pojo and whatnot. It was very, very obvious it was ending. Bandai kept completely mum about the subject. Wouldn't say anything, and it's like, oh no, the final set's not coming. Thanks for buying what was the final set, guys. Which isn't
Yeah,
actually
it's
uncommon
crazy.
in this space. This is actually something that I think a lot of people need to know really smart is if a company starts not talking very much about the next set and they just start going really quiet, you don't really see mention of solicitations to the stores to buy the next set, it's dead.
I mean, that's exactly what happened with comic books. Some comic books like, oh, this is the grand final issue, but a lot of comic books just kind of just fade away.
Yeah.
It just stops showing up. It's just canceled. That works for comic books because those characters still exist. Like once a game it's dead, it's like very few card games that are like still active.
Oh, yeah.
It's like I can't play Buddyfight right now. Like I just can't. Let's go to Thailand, which the game is still like actually rebooting. But I think the only
Like
TCGs I
what?
know that people kind of still plays. Excuse me.
Buddyfight's rebooting in Thailand?
Yeah, it's like the biggest card game there. It just has a new era. It's not rebooting with like it's really like using old art and just giving stuff new effects.
Uh huh.
It's like it's still going on there. They change the mechanics and everything. It's super popular there.
That's actually really interesting.
Yeah, I think Bushi licensed it out to a different company in Thailand, and they run things there.
Yeah, because
Yeah, Buddy
Thailand's
Fight's
got
still
some
active
really
there.
weird stuff with Vanguard too.
Yeah, it's super big, but I think the only dead TCG I can just find a game right now to play. It's Chaotic.
I've
That has a big community right now.
yeah, I've heard about it a lot. I've never tried it.
Yeah, man, that was my addiction as a kid because I didn't start playing Chaotic. It was on a old site. I don't know. You probably remember. It's called like Trading Card Games Online. It was meant for like selling trading cards on the website, but it had like an online client for over the web for like all these CCGs. That's where I used to play Chaotic all the time at.
Oh no, I don't remember that.
Yeah, that was pretty big. I used to play. That's what I was able to play all these games as a kid before I had my own money. It was
What
called
year are we
Trading Card
talking
Games
about?
Online. Man, this was like early 2010s, mid 2010s.
Oh,
Like it was that era. Like they had, that's where I played Card Fight Vanguard. That's where I played Buddy Fight. That's where I played Chaotic. It had everything.
yeah, I might have been
We
completely
played
phased
card
out of the
game.
community at that point.
Yeah, you can find some old Kino-kun videos, and that's where he
Yeah,
playing like Naruto DCG. It got shut down like 4 years ago, but the chaotic community actually made their own like online sim for the web, and they still run terms and everything. Like I don't actively play it, but like a couple of like 4 3 years ago, I used to play like tournaments for chaotic all the time. And that's like one of the rare cases of like a TCG has been dead for man 15 years, almost 15 years now, but it's still active, and
yeah.
they're still wishing that game come back, but that game's never coming back.
I think there's only about a couple of other ones. Like I think Star Trek and Star Wars are still going. For your games, I'll have to fill me in. WWE Raw Deal is still going. I think there's might be another few things, but that actually segues into something I wanted to talk about. And actually, I want to mention it because we can use this to segue into Buddyfight.
Yep.
Why aren't you playing it still? Not just community based, but why aren't you playing it today?
Why I'm not playing Buddy Fight?
Yeah,
So this is kind of interesting because I think I didn't want to explain my point in the Discord because I want to save for this conversation, but
yeah.
I honestly don't like Buddy Fight, um, like cards, like the card design in Buddy Fight at all. And like I've played like Buddy Fight, during quarantine and everything. I used to play an online sim called Buddy Fight Area a lot.
Oh, I
But
remember that.
my love of Buddy Fight isn't actually like the cards that Bushiro has designed outside of like the first set. I just like the game mechanically. I think the game is like mechanically tight.
Yeah,
Like I don't think I have ever seen like I think Bushiro is like really good at developing new mechanics, new ideas for card games, making good games. They just suck at card design and making cards balance, R&D. They suck at
okay,
that. But I
okay.
think
Let's just
like,
take a step back. So, the thing you have to
okay,
understand about Bushiroad is, and I believe this is true for the vast majority of games, Vanguard and Buddyfight were designed by one person. They get a development team on for the cards, and usually that original creator of the engine is kicked out.
yep, I knew that part. That happened to Overdress recently, right?
Yeah, Maury was kicked out, and I
Yeah.
blame the community for this. You all did this because you wouldn't be patient and let things balance out with the later sets. You all got pissy about landing.
Yep. I mean, I knew that. Like that's why I like said. Honestly, I like the first 2 years of Buddy Fight. Everything past that, that's kind of not off. But I think the game has a great, amazing engine. I don't think I ever played another game like the gauge system in that game. I think it's amazing. Starting out with two resource already, charging draw. A mulligan, put in a resource every turn. I think that's genius. I think the size mechanic is really cool. Way to balance cards. The actual game itself, I'm not the hugest fan of modern Buddy Fight at all.
Yeah,
It feels like more like Yu-Gi-Oh.
yeah, you're going to take me to task on Buddyfight, but you haven't actually said anything I disagree with.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not. I wanted that to be the surprise of me coming to the podcast. That like, I'm not a fan of like actually playing Buddy Fight. I just like the game mechanically.
Yeah,
I think it's almost genius mechanically.
okay.
I don't like playing it.
So, are you familiar with how Buddyfight started in the West?
Oh yeah, man. I was the target demographic at Buddy Fight.
Oh,
I was around 13, 14 when Buddy Fight launched.
yeah,
Um, I was watching YouTube at the time. I watched episodes on YouTube every morning. It was my first card game I played because before then I was just playing card games on like online simulators.
yeah.
Like this is the first card game I played like in person, in paper. I was the only kid there, sadly. There was a whole bunch of other 30-year-olds playing Buddy Fight with me, but I was there from the rise of Buddy Fight till end of season two. That's when I kind of leaned more into Vanguard.
So over here, and I don't know if this is the case over there, but Bushiroad sent down people to demo the game to Vanguard players. They wanted
Um,
cross
I,
contamination from the start. They wanted to
yeah,
siphon
I think
players from their own game.
yeah, it was pretty weird. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. So
'Cause
I
No,
went.
no one. So I think the problem was that no Vanguard player was going to pick Buddy Fight up as their main game, and that what happened.
Hmm.
Buddy Fight was always secondary. For them.
So I went to one of these events with a mate. The guy from Bushwood was really, really nice. It was in a local shopping centre. I'm really surprised because it was just like we played at a pop culture store a lot of the time in a local shopping centre. That's what we call malls over here, shopping centres. I think we're only using the mall vernacular recently. But he demoed the game. I quite enjoyed it. I'd watched it online and read the manual, and I was all ready to go. It looked fun, and I'm like, Vanguard's not that expensive at the time, and I could probably keep this one on two if I just have like one deck. I made the really dumb decision to buy Danger World.
Oh no, that's one of the worst parts about Buddy Fight. Danger got so shafted.
Yeah, so my initial experience wasn't good. And I remember really not enjoying the climax mechanic, I think it's called.
Oh, impact. Yeah, I hate
Impact, yeah.
impacts. Like I literally hate impacts with a burning passion. They're so anticlimactic way to finish a game.
So I think I just put it away and then Glorian again, who's probably why I keep playing all those Japanese games. Although he doesn't want to play anything now. Hint, hint, if you're watching. Um, he gets me to try it again with the Shinobi World starter. And instead of bringing bringing me in with a versus a starter and whatnot, he throws me in the deep end. And by this point, the
Oh
game
no.
had already kind of died here, more or less. It might have been played somewhere, but it was nowhere locally. And
Yeah.
it ended up like, you know what, mate? Do you just want all my cards? I'll give them to you for a very, very small amount. And
Oh, I mean, I don't blame you, man. Like Buddy Fight was so poorly managed. Like
so,
for a game
just
so well
just
designed, like it
just got finished.
sucks.
Then at the end, because I like Metabots, so does he. I try to get on the simulator, full deck. So I'm going in. Play the Metabots deck. I win in relative ease. Very short amount of time. I'm like, is this it? This wasn't actually fun. Nothing. It doesn't feel satisfying. It's like start, end, what happened?
Yeah, it's. I mean, that's what happened when power creep happened to an already short game. Because I mean,
Yeah.
Buddy Fight at first was only like, oh, like you only got like 3 to 4 turns, and at the later stage of the game, you only got 2 turns.
I think when we're talking about the mechanics, I think the one thing that kind of bothers me about the game as a whole is I do think buddies should have been a unique card.
Do not disagree there. I don't think we disagree at all about Buddy Fight, honestly, because like like I want to just say this in the atmosphere. Like I was inspired. I think when did the Primal TCG camp got announced? Like 2 years ago, I think. At this point, like
Mm.
I've been slowly like working on like a spiritual successor type game, the Buddy Fight, just on my like very very free time.
Yeah.
I just crack at it, just design some stuff. You know, that buddy mechanic just like impacts as well. Like I don't like that, but that buddy mechanic is like just for the anime, for media.
It's like,
It's barely it didn't even exist.
see, what really bothers me is they could have totally made buddy versions for the mechanic for the more pushed characters or cards they found out were more popular later on from art reasons or mechanic reasons, and just have them be a special card type that you have as your buddy and you can call them. And I think that's what kind of deflates the mechanic a lot. It's just like it's a fifth copy because we want to sell more cards.
I don't even count it as a mechanic, honestly. It's just there.
Yeah.
It's so unimportant. Like the most like you just pick like something easy to summon, like a size 1 monster with no gauge cost, and just put that as your buddy,
Mm.
so you get the one life fast as possible. Or you're just trying to bling out and get like a fifth copy of your boss monster, but it seems like a tackle on it then.
So I think I've said this before multiple times. I've said so in reviews. Uh, in terms of gameplay, because again, the climax and all that, and I think card design as well. I vastly prefer Gate Ruler. I think Gate Ruler is, in many respects, everything Buddyfight could have been.
Continue on.
So I know you're not a big fan of Gate Ruler. I'm curious why.
Yeah, I just I can see the essence of Buddy Fight. I can see like the soul of Buddy Fight and Gate Ruler, but it just feels like a different type of game. Honestly, it seems. I don't think it's complicated, but it seems a little more complex than Buddy Fight. And I think the reason I like Buddy Fight so much because it was just so simple. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
It seemed like Gabriel was like the big brother. Let's take Buddy Fight. No, Buddy Fight 2. And I was always just fine with just normal Buddy Fight. I liked how simple Buddy Fight was, and Gate Ruler just that doesn't exist in Gate Ruler.
No. Gate Ruler is something I wouldn't spend money on, but I'm actually looking to just print out decks. I know that's actually a really bad position to have for the game because it is struggling. It does need those sales, but there's no scene here, and I'm like, what is
Seen anywhere?
no, well, nowhere. But that's actually kind of the point where I've gotten with games, and I wonder how many people feel this way. If you're just playing with your friends on the kitchen table or wherever, just print out stuff. You don't need to spend that money on actual cards.
100%. 100%. It's so many like dead games, like it's so many games that you just come out, no one plays, really cool. Just print them out. Like if you're not going to no tournaments, you're not going to no locals. I don't see no reason like just to the buy the cards. Play a unofficial online summer, just print them out.
Yeah, like
No reason to.
if the game's like in a box and it's a set product, like say I've mentioned a few times Marvel Champions. I've still got to get around to buying it, but that I'd buy because it's a set product. It's like I don't have to go digging for cards. I don't have to go finding singles. I don't have to do any of that crap. I can just buy it. It's there. If I'm going to be put through a lot of expensive rigmarole, printing is always a better option.
Yeah, like if you're not into, collecting cards and you're not playing the card, competitively, there's really no reason to buy the cards at all. Like the only reason I play games like competitively.
Yeah.
That's the reason I buy cards. I
Oh
have
yeah.
to go like regionals and stuff. But outside of that, like I said earlier, like I grew up playing like unofficial online simulators.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's how I fell in love with games like Vanguard and stuff.
Yeah, but back to Gate Ruler. I think my main problem with that as a game, well, other than the fact that I Spy is managing it and they're who they are, I honestly do not think anyone of reasonable competency and foresight works at that company.
Gate Ruler's still like alive. Like it's still going on, right?
It's in a very, very similar position to Hyperjuken. It's an indie game now. It's not properly distributed or published, but they're trying to generate the funds for the next set. Which,
Okay.
given the artwork that they use and my rough idea of what artists they're using and how much it costs, that is a lot of sales necessary.
Yeah,
If the
not
next
really
set
going
doesn't
for that-
happen,
that-
I wouldn't be surprised.
it seems like to really survive now with their type of quality artists, you got to go full like anime. It seems like
Yeah. Actually,
you
speaking
got to go
of
full Grand Archive.
yeah, that's what I was going to bring up. I was mentioning before that what's its name, Shadowverse. It basically doesn't exist here, but I keep seeing store advertisements for Grand Archive. I don't know if it's played anywhere because my stores are weird now, but yeah, it's pushed by the places that only sell cards. They don't actually have a play
It's a
area.
scene. It's a scene for Grand Archive in my local. People play it, but it's a lot of collectors because the anime aesthetic is very, very powerful.
Oh yeah,
Like people that's like honestly, I think in this TCG market, you either got to be an anime game or IP game.
yeah,
Or you're not gonna make it. Like, that's literally how it is now because the anime it kind of comes down where TCGs come from, like being collectibles. I think you really have that collectible aspect to your card
absolutely.
exists now in the market. Like no one's really gonna play your game just for mechanics. I mean, honestly, this is coming from someone who playing Battle Spirits competitively. I mean, the game would be way more successful if it was like same gameplay. It was just Naruto.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. That's something that I think needs to be drilled into a lot of people's heads. I think in a lot of respects, I've learned this the hard way. A store owner tried to give me an inkling on this, multiple have, but I think I've learned it the hard way eventually, that the true success of a TCG has nothing to do with the gameplay. It's all to do with the collectability and how it's getting people to buy it. As much as Merc in the Discord wants to rattle on about whatever, because I think in respects he's young and inexperienced, the at the end of the day, if it's not making sales, it's not continuing.
Yeah, I think we just have that like business brand as two indie curators. We kind of see the inner workings of business and how these we're not just consumers anymore. We
No,
can see how things function.
and
I know all the debates on the Discord about Yu-Gi-Oh and everything, but Yu-Gi-Oh is still making money,
yeah.
still printing money,
Oh
endless
well, the
money.
sets aren't now. That's actually a video I've been working on, about what's wrong with Yu-Gi-Oh? Because the sets aren't selling now.
It's that's set. It's set blows, and it's just it's nothing that can't be easily corrected. It's just all these side bets, but that's another story.
See, I'm not exactly sure. I'm wondering how close Yu-Gi-Oh is to reaching that ceiling.
I don't think Yu-Gi-Oh is gaining new players at
No,
all. I think that's the problem with Yu-Gi-Oh. It's not gaining new players, and it's not getting vets back either. I think that's something with other card games like Magic, and I think almost any card game, most of them, that like it'd be something like archetype comes back, or a new mechanic sounds interesting. They get vets back. That does not happen to Yu-Gi-Oh at all, because those legacy support aren't good most of the time, or they just don't play the
not
same at
only
all.
that. I think what has to be really understood is a lot of the changes to the game to make it very, very combo based and blisteringly fast, while also being very, very slow, are quite alienating to these older players. Like, I can pick up a Yu-Gi-Oh deck and play it casually and have a pretty good time, even if I'm learning the cards as I play, which isn't ideal, and the cards are very wordy, but I can have a good time. Competitive play is very, very daunting, and I'd rather not experience it.
Yeah, it's not even crazy because it's like you're coming from like when did you play Yu-Gi-Oh competitively or like locally?
I played Yu-Gi-Oh from its original release up until uh, early not Synchro. Not because
Okay,
I
so I
not because I disliked Synchro. I actually really really liked it. I'm one of the few people that's a Yugi boomer and actually likes a lot of the introduced mechanics. And I did come around to Links eventually, but I do understand fully that the way the game's evolved, it's hard to follow. It requires a lot of understanding of cards, and it's a bit on the tiresome side. Like my mate that I usually make time to play with, he won't. Glorian on the Discord, he won't play Yu-Gi-Oh with me at the moment because it is too exhausting.
I think it's super interesting because you're a Yu-Gi boomer and I'm not a Yu-Gi boomer. I grew up playing Yu-Gi-Oh
Yeah, but
on
I'm also the
the
weirdo that likes the new stuff like synchros and exes and pendulums. And
yeah.
well, the other boomers are
I think it's
screaming.
so yeah. I think it's so weird because I feel the same way and I grew up in a different area. I grew up on playing Dueling Network. Remember that site?
Oh yeah,
I used to play on that as a kid, and I was playing like I came like Zexuera, and like I played Zexuera all the way to like Arc 5 a little bit, and now I try to get back to Yu-Gi-Oh, and I feel the exact same way, and it's kind of crazy how we're both from different points of time in Yu-Gi-Oh history, but we feel the exact same way.
yeah. I think this is actually something I'm trying to bring up in that script because I'm actually doing a scripted video for a change recently. But I think in a lot of ways, Yu-Gi-Oh's problem isn't so much that there's anything really wrong with it. It's that there's something wrong with the cards. and that they're too complex and they're enabling this really exhausting gameplay. But it's
You
really
think so?
hard
With
to
like
fix
the
without rotation.
is it even possible to recover Yu-Gi-Oh at this point? I feel like it's just too far gone.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I
This
think it's
current
at a
like card
ceiling.
design.
I think it's
Yeah.
I think it's hit the end of its life, and that's what all games without rotation that use bandless eventually do.
Do you think it's at the end of his life, or you think it's just on maintenance mode? Because I feel like they still have a big player base. The people who just don't care. I don't really think
But
players are falling off. They're just not getting new players. It's
but
like I'm going like
that's the other
I follow
half.
YouTube.
But that's the other half of the problem. Those players, they're not buying the new cards.
Yeah, I mean that's true. Um,
That is the
that's
really
true.
really big problem that Yu-Gi-Oh has right now. That there's the cards are so strong that there's no reason to buy new ones. It's like I've released this new theme, isn't it cool? Yeah, I'm good. My old deck's still producing results, and banning powerful cards from old decks has historically worked to a degree. To make space for that new stuff, so people buy the new stuff. But clearly, a combination of the rapid fire set releases and just where we are,
Yeah, I think that's the
it's not
problem.
working anymore.
Yeah, because it's rapid set releases, and those sets don't have anything relevant because you have like you can't always push the envelope every single set. So like you could have fun sets like I think the newest one was like a fire themed deck, like fanfare fire stuff, and just it's not competitive because I think the biggest problem like Yu-Gi-Oh just doesn't have a casual player base.
Which
That just
is
doesn't exist.
which is really sad because I will die on a hill saying casual Yu-Gi-Oh is a blast.
Oh yeah,
If you just go
I think
full theme, don't mix archetypes, and just it's a fun game.
I think the most fun I had with Yu-Gi-Oh in recent history was just going online with a few buddies, just playing anime decks.
Oh
That
yeah.
was super fun. That was super fun.
So you've seen
Not
the
competitively.
videos with the Hearthstone player talking about Yu-Gi-Oh, right?
I've seen that.
Yeah. So what's your take on him finding Edison to be a vastly, vastly more enjoyable format?
I think it makes sense. I think Edison has like the perfect middle ground between old Yu-Gi-Oh and modern Yu-Gi-Oh. You still have the flashy like combo plays, but you still can like just set a couple pass summon normal summon. I play a little Edison myself, and that's the most preferred way I find Edison.
Yeah.
I mean, fine playing Yu-Gi-Oh in modern day because it's the perfect balance. Because I don't find Goat format fun at all. I find that super boring.
I don't blame you. I don't remember the last if I've ever played anything close to Edison because after I quit playing Yu-Gi-Oh cards, I should say buying Yu-Gi-Oh cards, I kept up with the video games for quite some time. I have hundreds and hundreds of hours in Tag Force 3, 4, and 5, I think it is, or 3 and 5. Because I'm pretty sure we got one of the ones the US didn't, or they got it late, or whatever. But I was
Is the
playing a
five
lot
equal?
of stuff like Light Sworn and that in it.
Okay.
Again, really enjoyed it.
It's kind of crazy because Edison is like super. I think Edison is like larger than Goats now because like I'd see in person tournaments for Edison now.
Oh
And
yeah,
that doesn't happen for Goats. I haven't seen a single like they set some up for like Goats, but no one shows up.
but
People, it's like a
isn't Goat
of the
basically
16 for
solved?
Edison. What'd you say?
Isn't Goat basically solved?
Yeah, I mean, it's solved the same way Melee solved.
Mm,
At like it's still new developments, but the core is still
yeah,
much similar. Yeah, it's like Melee Yu-Gi-Oh. Slow new developments.
yeah. And how is Edison by comparison?
Edison, it just feels like more modern day, just Yu-Gi-Oh. It just like I said, it's like the perfect balance of like you can still set to ass,
Yeah,
but you can still have combo decks in the format as well. So it's kind of a mixture of like it's something there for everyone, which just doesn't like really exist. Like we have trap decks, and people still play traps in modern Yu-Gi-Oh, but it's like 5 floodgates.
yeah.
You're not setting Mirror Force Torrential with a set pass anymore.
Like I gave Trap Tricks yeah. a go. Because, jeez, keep getting tongue tied. I quite enjoyed it, but you can generally feel that, just like flips, the traps really aren't what they used to be. Because I
Yeah,
remember when Magic Yu-Gi-Oh first started, the Man Eater Bug was a great card.
yeah. I, at one point I want to bring up about Yu-Gi-Oh is as someone who I know a little bit about fighting games myself. That I really feel like you know Yu-Gi-Oh, modern Yu-Gi-Oh has its appeal, but it's kind of like the Marvel versus Capcom of TCGs. If you know anything about that.
I don't, but I've heard that comparison before.
Yeah, it's like Marvel vs. Capcom is not a casual game. If you don't know anything about Capcom, you're not gonna have no fun playing against someone who's pretty much like even decent at the game. It's super highly convoluted. You you not having it's not much interaction. You can get hit once and just die.
Yeah.
Kind of similar to Yu-Gi-Oh now. It's like, but it's an appeal to that type of like super focus. You have to know whole everything about the game. Um, Little interaction type of play style. It's just not appealing to the general masses.
Oh yeah.
That's where really Yu-Gi-Oh at. Like, you rather just play Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, and Yu-Gi-Oh also has that thing like Marvel vs. Capcom where the IP itself is a huge sales point and it can get people interested.
Yeah, a lot of people forget this that Yu-Gi-Oh is a IP game.
Can we just take a pause for a sec? I was gotta go do something.
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
it's all good. Here.
Sorry about that back.
Uh, I was saying that like people really forget this, but like Yu-Gi-Oh is a IP game.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I
Like,
even mentioned this in that script I'm writing. What I think a lot of people really don't want to recognize about Konami's Yu-Gi-Oh, I should say here, the game was never meant to be played. In terms of what the forget the manga's author at the moment, sorry. But the game that he created in the manga was just an off brand magic reconfigured and simplified for dramatic purposes to use in his manga. It was never meant to be returned to, it was never meant to be a physical item, it was never meant to be played properly. And what Konami has done for everyone complaining about, oh, Yu Gi Oh! Is so badly designed, when you actually look at what it's trying to achieve in terms of game design, be a playable version of a game never meant to be played, it transfers nearly all of the concepts over to the physical game really, really well. The only things I'd say Yu-Gi-Oh! Does very, very poorly in terms of base mechanics, and I think this has bitten it in the arse over the years, is that the fusion deck should have been the extra deck from day one and should have included rituals and what I dub phantom cards such as Red Eyes Black Metal Dragon and the Harpy Lady Sisters, Perfectly Ultimate, Great Moth, etc.
yeah, I think Yu-Gi-Oh. I think the Yu-Gi-Oh is the most interesting game to study because it's not a game made to be a game. It's like
Yeah.
it's like an IP, like we talked about earlier. Like it's an IP they try to make into a game. I mean, the only reason Yu-Gi-Oh as a card game exists because he got so much fan mail that
Mm.
like I want to play this, I want to play this. That Yu-Gi-Oh exists. Like it's not like a couple game designers came in and like designed Yu-Gi-Oh from the ground up to be a game. But I think that's why it's so fascinating to study and learn about Yu-Gi-Oh because it's like it's not supposed to work.
No.
It's not supposed to work, but they somehow made tape the plane together.
Yeah. And I think that they did a really commendable job, and the fact that it's basically enthralled and entertained multiple generations now. Because what was the current Yu-Gi-Oh when you were a kid?
I would say late GX 5Ds.
Yeah, so that's multiple generations. Because I was about
Zexal too, early Zexal.
I was about 12 or so, I think, when the original Yu-Gi-Oh came out. No, it would have been 14. Yeah, 14 when the original Yu-Gi-Oh came out. You're another generation. That's GX
Yeah.
and 5Ds. All of these ones are built on that core that was made so long ago, and they've always entertained children. I think to get into a different subject here, this is actually why I think that we haven't seen Rush Jewels. I don't think the Sevens anime has been doing well in English audiences. I don't think that video game sold well.
Oh yeah, I think that video game did not, because that video was kind of weird because they didn't market it to. I don't feel like that game was marketed to like target demo of kids. I feel like that was marketed at Yuki boomers based on how they changed everything to fit boomers.
It's a really weird thing. It's like, because in Japan, the whole point of Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens and Yu-Gi-Oh! Rush Duels was our average player base was 30 years old. There's Duel Masters still getting kids. There's Pokemon still getting kids. We used to be a children's property. Where are the children? Okay, the game is a pretty big part of that. We can't exactly reconfigure it to be good for kids without stuffing over everyone already invested. So we're going to make a new IP anyway. Well, I guess every reboot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is essentially a new IP, but we're going to make it anyway. Let's just use this as a clean break to just make a new, better Yu-Gi-Oh! That's better suited for what we're trying to achieve, which is that gaining that child audience. And then in the West, it's like, I don't know what they're trying to achieve.
I mean, I'm a comics fan. That's pretty much killed U.S. comics. Marketing too forward on adults who grew up with it and everything out, and not focus on the kids. It should be your audience for some of this media because they're your new audience. That's how you make new fans.
And I think something
Like,
that's really,
I'm an outlier as a comic fan.
Okay, so I'll ask you something fully here. As an adult, do you feel you could still appreciate things that are written for children if they are written in a way that don't speak down to children?
Exactly. 100%. I'm actually listening to the Animorphs audiobooks for the first time, and that's literally written for middle schoolers.
Oh, that's actually kind of a really funny mention, because I'm cleaning out my bookcase of old books I don't want anymore, and bits and pieces of Animorphs is something I don't want anymore.
Yeah. So it's as a writer, I prefer writing like middle grade fiction.
Yeah.
Like more kids based fiction, but it's a way you can write that stuff so it's anyone can enjoy it. We're not talking about like Dora the Explorer.
Okay, so this might be a bit boomer for you, but Goosebumps.
Yeah, I know Goosebumps.
Okay, so it was
kids still read Goosebumps when I was a kid.
Really?
Yeah, it was still in the library, still sold out all the time. Like always checked out.
That's interesting, because I think of it as a late 90s thing shortly before Pokemon hit, or around the same time, I'm not sure. But yeah, obsessed with it as a kid. I haven't read any of the books. I've got all the original run, but and I'm keeping those because I still enjoy those type of horror stories, provided that's the right thing. Like, I like the Universal Monsters, the old ones from the 20s and 30s, but I've chucked on the show from time to time, and I can still get really entertained by that.
Yeah, so it's not, and you're into like, I'm into like toys and stuff. I watch a lot of videos on toys as well. I feel like all the '80s toy lines, who still like Transformers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they exist because they still market to kids.
Yeah.
Stuff like G.I. Joe is like, it's because they focus too much on adults. It
Okay.
seems like.
That's actually a big point I have with Transformers right now, and I have for quite a few years. Get into a tangent here. You're familiar with Generations, right?
Yep, Generation One, Generation
No, no,
Two,
the
the
Generation
edgy version of
storyline.
the comics. Oh yeah, I know Generation Two. I thought you meant like that generation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like I just got who was my most recent one? Uh, I got Shattered Glass Ultra Magnus on clearance, right?
Hmm?
I actually like that mold. I've gotten both that one and the Kingdom one on clearance, so I'm happy I've spent barely anything on it. But I look at a lot of the generation stuff. There's not so much the more legacy, but more uh, siege, war for Cybertron era. And I think in a lot of ways they're very much reminiscent of the second movie's toys, and that they don't really feel enough like toys. They feel too much on the adult side of things, and I can just see kids getting really, really frustrated by them. I think this also lends itself to Transformers Animated a bit, which was definitely a kid's property, enjoyable by adults. It's got a sluggish first season like Beast Wars does, but it's a great show nevertheless.
I grew up
And
with that show. That was my Transformers.
yeah, you got a good one, and I think it's the last good Transformers cartoon. I'm sorry, Prime fans, I don't enjoy it.
I tried to enjoy Prime so much. I tried to
But I think back
watch
to,
that as an adult.
I think of the ones from the original classics run. Uh, they're great representations of those classic characters updated with new forms. They got decent enough articulation for what they're trying to do, and they're still very toyetic. I think that's what's lost in modern Transformers. I don't feel that they're toyetic enough.
Yeah, I can see that. I think one benefit Transformers do have compared to other properties, that they can kind of have it both ways. Like they still can like have the stuff for the older fans, but they still have like a cartoon made right now running on Nickelodeon for the kiddos.
Earthspark, that stuff's all on clearance here.
Oh, okay. I think some properties do it better. I think Power Rangers do it pretty well of having like
Hasbro
having their
just
older
killed it.
fans. Oh yeah, it's dead now.
Yeah,
But I like what they were doing before with the comics. I follow the comics,
I've heard the
but I'm
comics
not
are
gonna
really
follow
good.
like yeah, I follow the comics.
Did they
Monthly.
end too?
But, no, it's not ending. I
Oh,
don't think it's ending. Comics still going because that's a licensed comic, so
yeah,
they're paying money for Boom's paying money for that. But
yeah.
it's some. I think that's the best way to cater for these older properties is like have some for the adults, but you keep the main property for the kids.
Oh yeah.
That's how I see it.
Here's
Because
me being miffed with
it's
Power
hard to get new
Rangers.
fans.
You're the one that mentioned this in the
But
Discord, right? That people trying to adult up Power Rangers misses the point.
yeah,
Yeah,
I said that. Yeah,
yeah.
that was
And
my big thing. Yeah.
I fully agree with you. Like, I grew out of Power Rangers around Zeo, I want to say. Then came back to it as an adult, all nostalgic. Uh, I absolutely fell in love with Jungle Fury. And that is way past
Good one.
my era. And I thought it was one of the, just a genuinely entertaining show. Great characters, great costumes, great theming. It just did everything right. I've watched through it multiple times now. And I thought
Yeah,
Dino Thunder was pretty good. I want to see Ninja
I love that
Slug.
show.
Pardon?
I love that one. I love the Disney era of Power Rangers.
Oh yeah, I think it's criminally underrated, and I'm just actually going through collections of stuff because when the big resurgence was happening with Samurai, I bought into that heavily. All the toys, all the DVDs. I've gone back to it. I like the Zords. I like the costumes because I like Samurai Shinkenja quite a lot in terms of visual design, but the show is insufferable.
Yeah, I think I know why it's insufferable too. They said in interviews like Power Rangers the Disney era the target demo was like 8 to 10,
Yeah,
and now it's like 6 to 8.
That's because kids buying toys has aged down.
Yeah, but it's kind of. I think a lot of adult fans just are too shameful. Like, okay, I don't want to watch. I want to enjoy my stuff from childhood, but I want to still be adult. So, like, make it adult for me instead of just enjoying, the property they love. No,
Okay, so I don't know how much of a hot take this is, but you know the reunion special on Netflix?
yeah, I know that.
I didn't enjoy it at all.
I didn't enjoy it either.
I couldn't get through it.
It's kind of funny because you come from like you're older than me, but I think it's a big problem with a lot of this nostalgia bait content that is like super alienating.
Yeah,
Because it's nostalgia bait for something I'm not nostalgic. Like I didn't grow up with Mighty Morphin. Like I got in Power Rangers during the Disney era, and that's the era I like. So like this isn't. This is made for like such a small audience of people who grew up with Power Rangers. Because no adult's gonna that never heard of Power Rangers gonna watch this. No one's like older from that didn't come from the booms gonna watch this. So like, it's such so small of a niche at this point.
and the fact that regarding that, so I don't know if you're following Transformers at the moment, but they are doing occasional Armada updates.
Makes sense. It's like 20 years old now.
Yeah, so it's for the people that are now adults and goodbye. I loved Armada when it came out. I was all in. I love the gimmicks. I don't care about the chonky lack of articulation like so many of the people on YouTube do, and so many people in the comments. I rather have that fun toy aspect, because that's what I enjoy about it. But I'm just thinking back to Power Rangers again and transferring that. It should really be a lot of those early 2000s kids as well getting their nostalgia stuff. The Mighty Morphin stuff, I don't know how this actually relates, because it should be the early 2000s stuff getting the big sales from nostalgia, yet everything Hasbro puts out, or put out, I should say, seems to indicate Mighty Morphin is the only thing that really sells.
Yeah, I think so. The reason why Mighty Morphin sells more than everything else because Mighty Morphin was the big boom,
Oh, yeah.
and that was the biggest those Power Rangers ever was Mighty Morphin. So that's why, as well as like, as a Disney era fan, it's so many different seasons at that point. Like Mighty Morphin had like a good 3 seasons run, and then you kind of got the Zeo era as well. But it's so many different niches in the Disney era that it's hard to really cater to it.
Yeah, I get that. But part of me is just thinking, are the kids from 20 years ago now really nostalgic for a show 30 years old?
No, and it's possible too. But so, Saban every
Because was it airing when
franchise
you were
owner
a
of
kid?
Power Rangers was so cheap. Excuse me?
Was Mighty Morphin still airing when you were a kid?
Oh no, not at all. Not at all.
No, so you
Not at
probably
all. I didn't
discovered
watch
it.
Mighty Morphin until Netflix.
Yeah, so
So I
you probably
watched all of
discovered it
it.
the same way I discovered Masters of the Universe.
Oh yeah, pretty much. It was
Like,
on. It's back in the day, like old Netflix when they had like everything from the '90s up there.
like, I didn't grow up with Masters of the Universe. I'm too young for that, right? Because it came out in like
Yeah.
1982. And it was dead by 1987. I wasn't born yet, because I was born in 88. And I had a knockoff line as a kid called Galaxy Warriors. Basically, they're the same type of body shape, but more based on Frank Frazetta art, if you're familiar with that. If you're familiar with stuff like Conan imagery.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that was my stuff. And then 2002, so you might be familiar with the Mike Young cartoon for He-Man.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I'm just an animation nerd. I didn't grow up with it. I'm just an animation
Yeah.
nerd, so I watched
So
that.
when they came out, I thought it was dry, boring, and it was like, my mum was like, "Oh, He-Man, your uncle watched that when he was young. It's good." And I'm like, "Yeah,
It's the opposite of Turtles at the time.
Yeah.
I grew up with those Turtles.
2003 Turtles.
Yeah, I grew up with those. I
Oh
love
yeah,
them.
you grew up with the good stuff."
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I think that's the biggest difference too between like the '80s stuff from the 2000s, like the reboots and stuff, because like they really cater to like new kids. They don't do that anymore.
no. On the Turtles, though, I actually just am finishing up a small Turtles collection, and then I hear Super Sevens making 2003, and I'm like, oh, I want that. But the 87 Turtles was still current when I was a wee young kid. And I have toys and plushes, plush Michelangelo from the original cartoon and everything. But outside of that original mini, it's hard to watch. And I wasn't really into the property after Power Rangers and then Beast Wars, because I've been with Transformers as long as I can remember when G2 came out. So I saw a little bit of the 2003 Turtles when it aired. I didn't think much of it because it wasn't something I was into. I think might have been more into Beyblades of all things at the time. But I got into it later because I think I saw a few episodes like, oh, wow, this is genuinely entertaining. And now I've had the DVDs for years because we got all of them down here, except I think the tail end of Fast Forward, but who watches Fast Forward? And
Yeah, the fast forward, don't past season 5. Yeah, that show doesn't exist to me.
no, but what I'm saying is, the as far as the Turtles go, the original movie, kind of the second one, and the 2003 Turtles, that's all I really need. I've heard good things about the 2012 one. I'm sure it's good for the kids who grew up with it, but I don't really need to sit there and judge it.
I think that's a perfect cool mindset to have because turtles aren't really focused on like the older fans anymore. Like that's why I really respect Turtles as a property and an IP because they don't really cater to the older fans, and it's really working for them because I think they made $1 billion off the new movies toys.
Yeah, I think the movie just came out here.
Yeah, like
They delayed it a
so. I
long
mean,
time, and the toys are just sitting on the shelves here.
well, you can yeah, that makes sense. You know, a movie out, no one's gonna buy the toys, but I kind of respect the Japanese approach of like how they treat their IPs like Super Sentai and Kamen Rider. It's like okay, we still respect the old stuff, and it's sort of part of the legacy, but you have to give kids and new IPs like new stuff to latch onto.
Oh yeah, and that's pretty normal for how IPs for children should actually work. And I've heard this from multiple people that worked in the toy industry. You've revamped the line every 3 years because that's about how long it takes for a kid to age out of the property, and that's when you need the new kids.
In Japanese, culture. I mean, Digimon did that perfectly. Like most of those IPs did that perfectly. Like I watched the original Yu-Gi-Oh show as a kid too because of reruns and the
Yeah.
DVDs. But I mean, I gravitated towards GX, and that's like my nostalgia because like I latched onto that. That was the new episodes coming out every week for me. So as someone who's like, it's so weird because like I like this type of media. Like I enjoy the creativity in these children properties, but you have to at a certain point realize like you're not the target demographic for this stuff, and I think that make a lot of people uncomfortable. That stuff they grew up with aren't for them anymore.
Oh yeah, but I think in some respects maybe stuff like what Neko is doing is for the best, giving the collector market that idealized version of what they grew up with. I think that is the
Oh
perfect
yeah,
space for it.
I seen those like G1 Transformers when like Ratchet didn't have a head or anything.
That actually brings up something that I've thought for a while now. Toys. I think I mentioned this earlier. Toys not being really toys anymore. But back then, I'm not even sure if many of the G1 Transformers were meant to be toys either.
They made them toys, okay? They made them
Like
toys.
for
The
ever
whole
really,
Megatron was like a Glock.
it feels like at least for the first 2 years till the movie stuff came out, when Transformers became a very solid brand identity. Yeah, for every figure like G1 Optimus Prime and Soundwave and Bumblebee, you had something like, I don't know, Starscream, Megatron, or Jetfire that's easy to break or easy to lose its under the pieces.
Yeah, because it was like a mismatch of like all these different like toy brands in the one.
Yeah,
It's pretty impressive how much. It's kind of like how I'm impressed with Power Rangers. Was like, yeah, this shouldn't have worked, but you guys made it work in the long run.
because
I'm like, you have to thank the Marvel comics. I really love the original Marvel's comic run because that's all the lore came from.
yeah, I stopped reading comics around the time New 52 started.
Oh, you ever read the original Transformers comics?
I've tried. I find okay. So this might be a hot take, and you might disagree with this completely. And it might be different now, but I everything I've ever read from IDW has been insufferably boring.
Okay.
And as far as the older toy IP comics, yeah, I find the old. And let's chuck GI Joe in this too, because I've collected quite a lot of GI Joes over the years. I like the IP, but and yeah, I do. We'll get back to the adults ruining that one in a second, but yeah, I don't find those books entertaining at all. I am firmly on the path that the old Sunbow cartoons outclass both of them in terms of being entertainment.
Really? That's a hot take right there. Um, that's a really big hot take. I think I enjoy those old comics for like. I kind of like those old comics in the meta sense of like, all right, this is like a professional comic writer, and they have to like cram in like, okay, we have to sell these toys this month
Yeah.
and put in these toys in. I like it as a meta sense of like, okay, these are toys coming out this month. How do they put them in the comic?
The only
And like they just killed off characters just because they're not selling them anymore.
the only
Just putting all the
toy-based
different
comic
gimmicks.
I enjoyed would say is the Devil's Due run of GI Joe. Something about
Okay,
that
I
one
never heard
caught
of
me.
that.
I don't know why.
Okay, never heard of that one before.
Yeah, is
I don't know much
Devil's
about
Due even
GI
around
Joe.
still?
The GI Joe?
No, Devil's Due was a publication house.
Oh, I don't think so.
No,
No,
I think it's
I'm
long
pretty
gone.
sure it's not. I haven't heard that. Never heard about it before, so it's probably been gone.
Yeah.
Um, I do want to hear you rant about GI Joe. I don't think you ever had like you had a couple of videos about GI Joe, but I want to hear you in depth. Like what's your big beef with it? Because I'm gonna be real. Like someone my age group, like I know the most I know about GI Joe is from those movies.
Oh yeah, because the only one that would have been around when you were young would be Sigma 6.
Yeah, I knew
The
it was like
anime
one on
one.
the hub. There was one
Sigma
on the
6 is a
hub, I
real
think
good
too.
cartoon though. Okay, so you're aware the G.I. Joe rebooted a few years back, just before the pandemic, I think it was. G.I. Joe
Yeah,
Classified.
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so when
You
those
made a video about that, right? I think you made it. I watched a video about you watch having
yeah,
that.
yeah, I bought into the first wave. I was really gunning for them because I didn't think they'd do. So in the 4-inch figures, I use the Dwayne Johnson Rock as the Rock. I don't use it as Roadblock
Okay.
because Sergeant Slaughter from the old cartoons. That's actually how I got into collecting way too many wrestling figures. But I was because I bought a Rock figure that just uses the Rock in the background. But I bought those figures. I liked the aesthetics with the exception of Roadblock, who I thought was more than a bit dull in the colour scheme, and I still do. The 1986 Roadblock is meant to have a reasonably bright green armor piece on the top and white pants. They changed it to a dull thing, and the first wave of that line, it's meant to go to a video game that failed, and it's meant to be quite toyetic.
Okay.
It was meant to be toyetic. It was meant to reinvigorate the brand. And because all of the 40-year-old, 50-year-old people online were complaining, this isn't realistic. This isn't fun. Well, this is too much fun, I should say. It's too bright and it's not dark and realistic.
Isn't that the point? Isn't that the point of GI Joe? Not being
No.
like unrealistic, like being fun.
See, that's the weird thing. It hovers between the two of them. Like, you look at 1982's original wave. So many of them, like Grunt and Zap, they're boring olive green, and it's like eh. And then you see Stalker, who's a bright green with olive stripes. And it's like, wow, that's a nice figure. You blow all the rest out of the water, mate. You're visually interesting. And then you
One of
have,
the most popular JoJo's like Snake Eye. It's a ninja.
yeah, but Snake Eyes didn't start as a ninja. Snake Eyes started as a commando.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, the original toy is Commando, and that's another hot take. I prefer Commando Snake Eyes. I don't like
Really?
Ninja
I don't
Snake
know.
Eyes, despite liking
I
Storm
just know Snake
Shadow.
Eye as a ninja. I just know him as a ninja.
Yeah, it's because that became really, really popular in the Larry Hama comic. It's, I think, never really used in the Sunbow cartoon, from my recollection. But yeah, the toy line that they released are classified 6-inch, meant to compete with Marvel Legends, whatever. But it's meant to be a reinvigoration of the brand, meant to appeal to children, meant to be fun and toyetic, and they turned it into what is largely a boring, ugly, tired-looking toy line. That there's a few things I've picked up here and there, like Spirit, the Native American fella with the eagle. He's got a nice blue shirt on. It stands out. I picked up Zartan because he's meant to be dark colors anyway, and his peach white skin stands out. But so many of the figures, I'm like, I look at them, they're not visually interesting. And it's like, I'm happy with my 4-inch ones, and I can't. They're expensive, so I can't see a kid buying them or even wanting them. You don't have any property go with them. It's doing well with the older demographics. It's doing really well. The stuff on HasLabs are getting over consistently, but I'm just like, is this really going to keep the brand alive for another day? Because you're not reinvigorating it, you're not changing it. That's something that the brand used to do a lot, because you have in the old lines, you have the original America's Movable Fighting Man from the 60s, then you have the Adventure Team, and you have, I think there's another one in there. Then you get to 1982 where it shifts to being like the Star Wars size, the 4 inches. Then it kind of just stuck there, and it's never changed up for a new audience, despite, well, not really, but all the changes have largely failed, because they tried a 5-inch line in the mid-90s, Sergeant Slavage and his Screaming Eagles, which I've got the toys of, a few of them. There's G.I. Joe Extreme, which are horrible toys that miss the point of the property in general, because it's always meant to be a highly posable toy. And then you have what you would have grown up with, G.I. Joe Sigma 6, which 8 inches, so I think that's what's it called? Adventure Team was in terms of size, but it's more of an action figure than a doll this time. But yeah, I don't think it tries in the right ways to appeal to children. I think in many ways, as much as Hasbro hates to hear this because it means giving up on an IP, or at least a part of it, it needs new characters, it needs a fresh paint job, it needs a new premise.
Yeah, because I think it's possible. I mean, just look at the Shira cartoon. That like reinvigorated that brand to a whole new audience. So it's possible.
The
It's
She-Ra
just
thing's
like,
interesting because it didn't translate to toys.
really, they did not make any, or it just didn't sell well.
Mattel originally didn't think that it would push toys because of the way it was done, and then they put out toys out of a lot of pressure, and then they end up on clearance. And now people, well, the few people that want them, and they're astronomical amounts of money.
Wow. How about the Voltron? Did Voltron like translate to sell? Anyone?
No, it went on clearance.
Dang. Okay.
The recent He-Man cartoon, I really, really liked that one. It was a far step from what it normally is. I collected everything. I loved it. But it went on clearance too.
Wow. I mean, it might just be changing the times, honestly.
Oh yeah, I think a lot of these properties, I think once they don't work a few times, you have to accept that they were a piece of their era.
Yeah, because I mean, kids still buy some toys. Like people still. I mean, Turtles just sold like $1 billion. So, but some IPs just don't work. I just don't think
Well, this is going to be the
G.I. Joe
shocker
might just.
for a lot of people. Do you know what the largest selling action figure line is?
No, I do not. What is it?
WWE.
WWE. I mean, that makes sense. I can see that.
WWE is the largest selling boys toy line by a very wide margin.
Makes a lot of sense.
And I think a lot of that has to do with the basic figures. For as lot as along as for as much as a lot of people want to go, oh, the basics don't have much articulation, which they're fixing next year. They're cheap, affordable. They do what they're meant to do. They're fun.
It's actually a good point because I remember as a kid, I wanted to get some toys, for Power Rangers stuff, but they were just too expensive.
Like, I think they just went up a little bit here, the basics, but they're $22. It's like, that's not a lot of money. They went up from 19. I think they were 15 a few years back, depending on where you bought them. But it's like 15. That's chips. I'll buy a bunch. Even at 22, it's like, yeah, I'll buy a few. That's about how much that actually no, that's still cheaper than what a pop vinyl is here.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think those Turtles toys, the new ones are pretty cheap as well.
Oh yeah,
I believe.
yeah. If you get them at Big W or at Target, Target's different to your Target. They're 15, I think.
Yeah, that's when the last time I checked, it was like around that price range.
Yeah, they're really cheap as chips. Not I ended up for my Turtles display buying the remakes of the Playmates Turtles. I have the Playmates remake van. I have the best action versions of Shredder, Casey, April, and Krang. I'm still deciding where I want to go with Rocksteady, Bebop, and Splinter. And
Okay.
I really, really do want to get Leatherhead. And I'm really thinking I might get that Crocker from Big Bad Toy Store. Despite the fact it's very expensive and it's very big and it doesn't fit anything, I just love that thing.
Yeah, I'm still as a Zoomer. I'm still waiting for my generation to have like up to date toys. My childhood cartoons.
I think we're getting there.
I'm not even sure it's gonna happen.
Oh yeah, the toy book market might collapse by that point because I think even over your lifetime, you must have noticed that the toy market, the toy area of the shops, is shrinking.
Yeah, I mean I'm a big cartoon fan, and I kind of grew up at the peak and the death of the cartoons made to sell toys.
Oh yeah,
Pretty much. It's like I grew up in like the Ben 10 era. That was the big when I was a kid, and that was like the big budget. You're gonna dump all the money into just to sell toys, and that died when I was a kid as well. That era.
yeah. I haven't experienced it firsthand, but apparently the '80s was something else.
Yeah. 2000 was kind of similar as well. It was a lot of like action cartoons made to sell toys, and that kind of died off by the 2010s. Some like the best action cartoons died just because like that market and that business plan of like putting all this money into a cartoon to sell toys didn't work. Like that's why shows like Young Justice died.
Okay, we got a comment here from Jason King. I think there should be more to toys than collecting, and that's actually something that I've talked about recently in this podcast, saying that I love action features and play patterns in toys and bright colors, toyetic fun.
Yeah.
I like toys being toys.
Yeah, I don't want like toys shouldn't be statues.
No, and I think that's a part of where a lot of the stuff like Marvel Legends and Black Series for Star Wars gets it wrong. They're very, very much posable action figures, not like Toy Biz was making Marvel when you were a kid, weren't they?
I believe so.
Yeah,
I
but
think so.
you didn't have the 5 points of articulation with an action feature, those stuff, did you? It was still Marvel Legends type.
It was some action features, I believe. I'm not certain. I wasn't a big into Marvel toys.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just trying to remember back. I was mostly big into Marvel when the X-Men and Spider-Man cartoons were current.
Yeah, like the toys I bought as a kid was like the Ben 10 toys and the Power Rangers toys and stuff like that. They still had like the toyetic features because they were just made for kids to sell toys.
Yeah. We're nearly up to 2 hours, by the way. You think we should talk about Battle Spirits?
Yeah, I was about to say something too. We made a whole tangent about talking about toys for almost an hour now. It was a fun topic. It's fun talking about it though.
Yeah, I wish I got to talk about toys more often. I have
Yeah,
lamented.
we have a lot of different generations, but we have a lot in common.
I really want
Stuff
to
we're interested in.
do a second channel about toys some of these days.
But yeah, let's talk about Battle Spirits. You said you play test some of it.
Yeah, I just
Recently.
gave it a little bit of a try. So, just getting to get to grips with the mechanics and whatnot. Uh, I'm reminded of Wheatcross in a lot of ways.
Okay, I never played that.
Okay,
So
so the big difference I'd say between the two games is Wheatcross is blisteringly fast, while I get the impression that Battle Spirits is very, very slow and deliberate in its full form. When you get very proficient at the game.
yeah, it's cards built into so the design of the game. It doesn't have like summoning six or none, so it's fast, but the card design keeps the game slow.
Yeah,
That makes sense. It's a
yeah,
card called Absolute Ice Shield that stops your turn.
yeah. Saw that one. I was talking to a friend
That's
about
in every
this
deck.
last night, who is vastly more familiar with the game. I get the feeling like Wheatcross, it's very, very deliberate in terms of every card is thought out completely how it's used. It's you know how games like Vanguard you can go on pure instinct a lot of the cases.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah,
really
100%.
it doesn't require higher brain function as much as you can just sit back and have fun.
Yeah, everything about Vanguard is like really cookie cutter. Like, even building a deck in Vanguard is like super easy.
Yeah, Battle Spirits, I get the point, the feeling that it's very, very thought processed and not exhausting in the way Yu-Gi-Oh is, but yeah, that's where I'm leaning with it.
Oh yeah, you're right. I'm a competitive player. You're right. I think the set one meta lasted like 3 months, and it kept on changing each tournament. Different deck.
I'm not sure if I'd say I have enough experience at the moment to say I lean towards liking it or disliking it, but there's a lot of things I can say I definitely appreciate about it. Well, I like the burst mechanic quite a bit. I think the whole counters mechanic is very, very interesting. The only issue I really had with it so far is, again, that pacing. It, to me, it feels like if you don't draw those low drops early on to get things down as much as you can, as fast as you can, the game just kind of clunks itself.
Okay.
I might be wrong. Again,
Um.
I got some really shit hands with that first try I did. I've really got to give it more of a shot. I've been told by my mate I probably should have just started with the start decks, then moved over to what you gave
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, but probably be better.
Yeah, so I'll do that. See you, Glorian. You were mentioned a lot today. But yeah, I don't think it's something that I would necessarily get really deep into, but I think I can have an appreciation of it.
I understand. I enjoy the game a lot. As you can tell, like I like mechanically
Oh, and I
intensive
definitely
games.
understand that.
Yeah, I love mechanically intensive games that has a lot of depth, that are also like kind of simple. I like games that are like kind of simply designed that depths come from other aspects of the game because Battle Spirit rules aren't that complex
No.
as a whole, but like it's mostly come from the card design, which I think a lot of games should be. I don't think the core rules of a game should be overly complex.
I agree.
I think they should come from card design. But I honestly, I think the reason what you're describing is the reason why the game's not really doing super well because it's made for my type of demographic as a card game player, and my demographic aren't the one you make money off a card game from.
Here's the thing,
Sadly.
though, and I was talking to my mate about this, my lead playtester for Hyperjukin, who's pretty familiar with Battle Spirits. We say that, yet Battle Spirits is a children's IP in Japan.
Yeah. Well, I think my standpoint is isn't that the game itself leans into the category for just me. It's the marketing Bandai did.
Yeah.
Bandai marketed it to like competitive play. This is like the card game esports. Make
Yeah.
a lot of money. People who like card games will play our game. This game has zero collectible value. I literally like I don't even like I was winning box tournaments and I just told him like I don't want the boxes anymore. There's none to collect any sets. I have everything. I think you need those shiny cards. They try with the Gundams and set two, but kind of rigged the boxes. They're like super hard to get.
Yeah.
It's just, it, I don't think the game's gonna die just because it's Bandai's baby and the costs are pretty low designing this game because they reuse a lot of art. But it's just not in a good state right now. It's just it's
Okay, so whether Bandai kills it or not is actually a really interesting subject because I don't think it's so much of, oh, the costs are low. I think it's a matter more of how much is it actually bringing in, whether the return on investment is enough to warrant it.
I told my friend, I told a lot of people this at the Grand Open because I went to the regional.
Yeah.
Just leaving the regional.
How'd you do, by the way?
Oh, man, I did. I went 2-7. It's kind of crazy because my friend I got in the game went 4-3. I made a meta call. I made like an anti-meta deck to counter the meta. Didn't fight the meta till round 5.
Oh, jeez.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. I can relate to that with some of my Vanguard stuff.
Yes, but I was telling my friend this that like if this was like One Piece, if One Piece was doing as like badly as Battle Spirits, One Piece be over because it's a licensed game. Bandit doesn't own One Piece. It's and it's actually the funny thing about it is One Piece actually is kind of carrying saving costs for Battle Spirits because all the Battle Spirits tournaments take place at the same venue as One Piece tournaments.
Oh, yeah.
So that's one thing.
Like how
I don't-
Buddyfight
Battle
and
Spirits don't have
Vanguard
no
worked.
limits. Yeah. And I heard you talking about it. Serge were talking about Hunter. Serge were talking about it in the Discord that like Battle Spirits current attendance is doing better than Buddyfight right now. I don't know how well that translates because I don't think Battle Spirits is doing extremely terrible. I know the box situation look actually pretty badly, but that was mostly because like Bandai overprinted those boxes.
Yeah, and how much of that is the people that wanted it already have it, and everything else left over is stuff nobody needs?
100% that because you could get set one before like 2 months or a month before officially launched in like some Bandai event. So all the competitive players went there to get their cards.
Yeah.
And most of the stores are like liquidating their band like Battle Spirit stuff. They had to order set 1 through 3 before the game even launched.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
they just have like too much supply. They just have too much supply. The game isn't
Yeah, that's
super
normal.
big,
You
but
typically order stock months in advance before you know, because the printing has to happen, because the money used to buy the set largely finances the manufacturing.
yeah, stores thought it was gonna be the next One Piece or Digimon and everything, but I don't think that was ever gonna happen.
No, no. I don't
That
think
was
it's
just never
I
gonna
don't think it's the
happen.
right type of game to do that.
It's like we said earlier. It's not an IP game. It's just not.
I think
It's not even an anime aesthetic game. It's like no waifus or anything in the game either.
I think in a lot of ways, without you are right about the collectible aspect of it, but I think in a lot of ways, it's too thinky, not visceral enough.
Yeah, 100%. Like you can't give Battle Spirits to like a child and they can like do well in the tournament. Like I think Pokemon, you can do that.
Oh yeah,
I've seen some children like beat me in Pokemon. Um, it's kind of like I don't know. I don't want to say it's like Yu-Gi-Oh, but it's a game meant for people who like really like card games. Like a lot of people come from other card games. It's like the opposite of Lorcana, honestly, in the market right now. You play Battle Spirits because you like card games
yeah.
a lot.
And the problem is how
And
profitable is that?
yeah, we just don't know that. There's talks with Bandai right now with doing more collab sets in the pipe work. And then they made a big announcement 2 months ago about set 4 is going to have more like alternate arts, higher rarities, and all that. I'm not.
Because that's
I don't think the game's going to die. Yeah, I don't think the game's going to die like the next 2 years. I think it's a lot of aspects that's gonna keep it survive, like living for right now, maybe the next 3 years. But I don't see the game lasting 5 years in its current state. I think it just has a lot of factors that's kind of like the low card, the reusing card art, venue sharing. Um,
I think a lot would hinge on how much of the store's going to buy after what happened with set one. How is set
or
4, 5, and 6 going to sell to them? And then that's going to translate into how Bandai acts.
yeah, I think that's make or break for the game. I think Bandai kind of sees it as their little investment as well.
Yeah.
I don't know how long that's going to last, though. Eventually, I know companies. I'm not super optimistic like some people in the community saying like, "Oh, this is going to last so it's successful." No, that's not how companies work. But I do think Bandai sees this as like, cause some like comic book companies like this, like IDW, you rather have their own comic books be successful, so they don't have to pay a licensing fee.
Yeah.
So I see Battle Spirits lasting 2 to 3 years. Maybe they throw in like more collabs because let's be real. Like Battle Spirits in Japan is about to die. So that Digimon collab.
Yeah, that's what I was referencing.
So I have faith, but like if I was a betting man, if Battle Spirits is gonna last 5 years, I'm gonna say no. But I do think it can recover.
Other than Gundam, what are the collabs so far?
It's just Gundam. We're only on set 2 right now. For some reason, Bandai are super into the lore of Battle Spirits Saga for some reason, and I think that it's talks in the work for a Battle Spirits Saga anime. Um, it's talks around that, but they said they don't want too many collaboration sets because they want to be their own lore and everything. But I think that swiftly is going to change. I think we're going to be seeing a Naruto collab set, or Gundam, or another Gundam, or Ultraman, or Godzilla, or something really, really soon.
Yeah, that's
People were hyped about the Gundam.
That's actually the thing that I think is going to be interesting. They're going to need an IP in the West that can sell it, that is something that have reasonably cheap access to. I'm not sure Gundam's strong enough to do what they needed to do.
So a lot of people were hyped for Gundam, but the pull rates on Gundam, they kind of shafted them.
Like
it's like 2 per case.
If they did Ultraman or Kamen
Ultraman,
Rider,
not at all.
I don't think those would do well. And you know what? Because of the other Bandai games taking so many IPs with
That's the worst part. They can't do Digimon.
Yeah,
because Digimon has a card game.
Naruto and Bleach are about all that's left. Oh, and if they want to appeal to Mexicans, Saint Seiya. Although I like Saint Seiya too, so maybe I'm Mexican too. I don't know. Oh no, the French
don't even have Power Rangers. They can't use Power Rangers anymore.
No.
True, I think that would have sold. Like a Mighty Morphin set, that would have sold.
They did do a
that
Power Rangers card game for a little bit. I think it only went for one set.
Yeah, but that's when they were making the toys.
Yeah,
America. Yeah, they kind of jaded. They got kind of screwed over because they sold the Power Rangers to Hasbro. So I don't think that's gonna happen.
What's even the lore for Battle Spirits? That's what someone's asking in the comments.
It's kind of like a fantasy world. That alien star dragons came and shot down, and they had to fight them. It's super boring. It's not cool at all. But they're making like the newest set coming out this month is like a lore book, a couple cards in, and I'm like, who wants this?
Someone's suggesting they bring out a game called Union Arena, which is apparently their version of Vice Forts.
I don't know that games can come just due to licensing.
Yeah. I think Vice is hard because they have to license Western things too. Like, I think they did that Adventure Time set.
Yeah, they did an Avatar Last Airbender set.
Yeah, I think I saw solicitations for that too.
Licensing with card games are kind of hard because isn't like, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm gonna be real. I don't think Bandai are gonna release that game in the West just because the Japanese card game market is so different from the West. They play card games all the time, every day, and store can only support so many games.
Oh yeah, and the West is so much more, I guess, tribalistic to games.
Yeah, you have 7 days in most games. At most, like the big games, you don't have one. Like Yu-Gi-Oh, you can't really have another event in most local game stores. But you can only have so many games you can supply. How many games you have tournaments for? I don't think it's really a good idea. I honestly probably wasn't a good idea to release Battle Spirits and One Piece the same year.
Yeah, I agree.
Can't like they kind of cannibalized their sales. Maybe
Yeah.
it would have probably been better if Battle Spirits came out a little first and then One Piece came out. Like One Piece came out, and 2 months later, I think Battle Spirits came out.
Although, to be honest, with Digimon, One Piece, and Dragon Ball Super being so close to each other mechanically in terms of what they're trying to achieve, and all being rooted in Duel Masters, I wonder if there's any
Yeah.
cannibalization there going on.
In my local game store, I want to say yes. A lot of Dragon Ball Super players went to One Piece. I think One Piece and Dragon Ball Super are like. I know I'm getting a lot of pushback from that from like fans of each card game, but like they're just too similar.
Yeah. Although I will say, I think
Just
from what I've seen of One Piece, I got it printed out the starter decks to give it a try. But it to me, it plays like what I kind of wish Force of Will was.
okay. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, I like that I don't know what they call the ruler. I think it's a leader or captain card, whatever. Dictates the colors of what the resources produce, and the resources are just straight. There's no weird magic stone deck with stupidly high consistency dual stones making 5 color decks possible or whatever. My big problem with Force of Will as a game is, in terms of raw design, not the cards, but in terms of designers, you either have a Magic Stone deck that's too inconsistent or too consistent. And when
Because I don't know much about Force World, but it's like a separate, it's like a land deck basically.
yeah. My thoughts on Grand Archive, Jason's asked me, and we're going to have to close up very soon because we're going for 2 hours. And I've got to get
Oh,
some
wow, I
things
didn't
done
even
before
feel
the
like
next.
it.
No, it didn't. It felt like the time flew by. It was fun.
Yeah.
What's my thoughts on Grand Archive? I haven't actually looked into it all that much. All I know about it is the resource system is very controversial. If there's decent quality pictures online or ones I can use AI to upscale, I'll give it a shot eventually. Battle Spirits is looking to be the next thing I review, probably One Piece after that, and then I'll give Grand Archive a shot if there's enough of a demand for it. You have to understand at the moment, because my life's pretty busy, I don't get as much time to script and record as I'd like. So these videos might end up taking like a fortnight to come out, if not longer.
Understandable. Look forward to that One Piece review because I just can't get into One Piece. So I'm happy. I'm looking forward to see your thoughts on it.
I'm not keen on the IP myself. I'll be brutally honest with you. Out of the big three from the mid 2000s, I think it was, no retard through and through.
It's crazy too because I actually really like the One Piece IP. I'm currently like reading the manga. I think I'm like chapter like 900 or something. Like that game feels nothing like One Piece. Even appeals to me.
We're trying to do the streams once a week on, well, Wednesday Australian time, and I'm just Alex. But it's a matter of when I've got the time, when we can line everything up. I'm going to start doing community posts when I've locked it in. Most of the time, because of international date lines and time differences and whatnot, it might change depending on who I'm talking to. But usually around this time of the day will be it, because it's good for Americans, it's good for people over here in this part of the world, Australians, whatever. It's just easier. Unless I've got someone in Australia that can only talk at night.
You know who's your next guest going to be for the show?
I think it'll either be Foyo Games or Jeff again.
Okay.
I haven't got anything locked in right now. I'll ask Jeffy if he's up for it. If he's not, I'll ask Foyo, if he's busy, see what we can do. Because honestly, there's a few other people on the Discord I think would like to come on.
Love to see Hunter Surge up here. Like, I love hearing his thoughts on stuff.
Yeah, we'll see if we can make that work. He only posts once in a blue moon when things are really, really sparking him. I'm not even sure what Hunter plays these days.
He's active in the Battle Spirits Discord.
Ah,
That's where I see him. But it's sporadically. But he comes in. He writes paragraphs. He explains his points.
He's always been like that.
Yeah. I grew up watching his videos like 10 years ago on Buddyfight and Vanguard, so I respect the man. It was fun coming on talking about card games.
Yeah, it was.
First time really having an outlet talking about card games and toys.
If you'd like to come on again, we can do it.
Yeah, just let me know. It'd be fun to have like a big topic I can research about.
Yeah.
More in depthly.
Or maybe I'll get my ass around to making that toy channel, and we can move all that talk over there.
Yeah, it was a big section of talking about toys today. But it was fun. It was fun. I love talking about stuff.
Oh, well, I was talking with Jeff last week. There's this whole section devoted to video games.
I don't even play that many video games. Oh man, that was fun. Anything else you want to go over before we sign off?
Jason's mentioning Flesh and Blood. I really, really do not enjoy it. I have contemplated giving another shot. I've been given a bunch of cards. I really can't bring myself to do it. It's not the type of experience I want from a card game. I'm sorry for that. You'd sooner see...
gatekeepy.
Pardon?
That community was like, in my ear, it's like gatekeepy.
Oh?
They don't like cat. They don't like new players.
Ah.
They have locals just to practice for like competitive tournaments, and that's it.
Yeah, well, that's all the game really is, just competitive and collectability, isn't it?
I assume so. I don't know much about it because it was like, it just felt gatekeepy.
Yeah, it does. I went to the demo before it came out. It set a really bad initial impression. If I want that type of game, I've got Hyperjuken, to be honest. If I want to play something else, I'll go play WWE Raw Deal.
Yeah, I can see the appeal of like, it's kind of weird because I like games with mechanics, but that feels like anti-fun zone.
Yeah.
Like just serious all the time. Like games like Buddyfight and Battle Spirits and like, stuff like that. It's so fun with it. You still can have fun with the game, but now that feels like that's for pro. Everyone's wanted to go pro in that game.
Like, I'd put Battle Spirits and Wecross into a special the fun is in the thinking about it game. I think in some respects Flesh and Blood might be there as well, but it's too far away from the more visceral fun aspect of your Vanguards, your buddy fights. I'd say Magic is somewhere between the two, between thinky and fun. But yeah,
Magic's kind of weird because you got Commander with it, and a lot of people play that.
Pardon?
Magic's kind of weird because you have Commander as a format.
Yeah, I've only played multiplayer Magic once, and I really enjoyed it.
Every card game shop I go to, they don't have standard. They just have like Commander days.
It's
maybe like filled out.
It's like I enjoy Commander, but I think I can't get into it because I think you need those friends into it that you're just gonna have a good time. And I think once you get away from that friends group, it's gonna be too much politic and crap everyone out for their own. And I think it probably drags the fun away from it.
Yeah, it seems like you gotta like warm up to the community, come a couple times, kind of know everyone type of thing. Kind of like going to like a party or a get together more than just coming to a TCG just to play, Yeah. I mean, Commander is the social aspect first, and then playing second.
Yeah, and I think most people, their groups, try to regulate the power levels.
Yeah, it's like different tiers, like 1 through 10. Yeah. You can't just show up. You can't just show up with a deck.
Anyway, I've got to prepare for Foyo in, oof, must be 2 hours. So
Yeah.
I got
Oh
to have
yeah.
lunch and get set up for that.
Understandable. I'm happy. Happy I was able to come on.
Yeah,
Able to come on anytime you need me to.
it
Just
was
with
a
a heads
fun
up.
talk.
Yeah. All right. Well, you have a good one.
You too. So we'll uh, try to get the next week's podcast around the same time next week. It'll either be Jeff or Foyo Games, depending on how things play out. Till next time, everyone, this has been Eric, and thanks for watching. And Nate, do you want to say anything?
Yeah. I'm happy to come on anytime. Love TCGs. Um, one thing, Eric, you want me to just say anything? You want me to just, I can schedule like once a month. You want me to come on if you want to do this weekly?
Yeah, we'll see how things go, because I think having a rotation allows people to refresh and get some topics they want to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah, I can cook up some things in a month and come on. We can have another 2-hour conversation.
Yeah. I think letting everyone get a chance to get some really good topics that we can talk about is the good way, instead of what's in the news this week, let's talk about that, and you just run out of stuff.
Especially in card games, it's not that much to talk about every week. Okay, that's it.
See you later, everyone.